Hello, marvelous makers,
and art appreciators,
and welcome to the ArtSpace podcast,
brought to you by Lemon Street Gallery and ArtSpace,
located at 4601 Sheridan Road in Kenosha.
Stop on by, check out our art. Do I say that every week? I'm gonna say different stuff.
That's funny.
Yeah, stop on by. We'd love to see you and see your smiling faces. And yeah, thanks again to Lemon Street.
Woo-hoo. And on this wonderful episode, we have Kelly Witte with us. She's a wonderful muralist, printmaker, painter, and just an overall wonderful delight of a person, I would say. So, hello.
Hi, thank you for the lovely intro.
You're welcome.
We're so happy to have Kelly with us today.
Just colors galore. I love her work. So
bright, sunshiny. You know, it's springtime now, and I look at this and I think of spring.
Yes.
And yeah, it just seems very synergetic. Is that a word? I don't think that's a word.
Sure. It's a business term.
It's synergetic.
That I've heard it in business, but yes.
Yeah, Shelby definitely has the theme locked down. I have the just came from work, still wearing my office shirt. Barely had time to go home and let the dog out before I got here. Look going on, so apologies for that. But
I'm an icon, I know. Thank you.
Oh,
thank you.
This is great. I feel like I'm among fashionable royalty.
Yes. But getting into the questions, because I've got a lot of questions for you.
Ooh.
You're like one of my favorite local artists, so
thank you.
I've had a chance to see a lot of your work recently. Being in the juried show at the beginning of the year with Lemon Street, the Oh So Appealing show. And you were recently announced the emerging artist for 2022 and 2023 for the Racing Art Museum, and I think that is so awesome.
Yeah, thank you. It was just announced yesterday, and I was so excited that I get to be part of an awesome roster of artists like the other ones that will be showing. I can't wait to see what everybody else is going to be making, and one of them is one of my former instructors, so I'm really honored to be showing alongside her, I guess, in August of 2023.
Nice, Lisa
Yes.
Bogalki. Yes. Oh my goodness. Yeah, the printmaking stuff. I love her work as well. So that is nice to see kind of the full circle of it all. So really cool.
Well, let's get into question number one.
Yeah, question number one.
Kelly, what got you into art? You have memories from the early days? And
I kind of feel like, most kids love to color and to draw, but that was always, I feel like, what I gravitated towards. I'm not good at sports at all. I consider myself athletically challenged, if that's a real term. Me in sports, it's not for me. But I've always loved painting, drawing. When I was little, I think I was constantly driving my mom nuts just because I said, hey, I want paper, I need this, or I was always putting together really weird outfits, or just constantly coloring or doing stuff with Play-Doh or glitter glue.
Nice.
You're the creative bug from an early age.
Yeah, I'm still all about the glitter glue and the weird outfits, so I guess not a lot has changed.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Of course.
Those things never go out of style.
No, definitely.
Just gotta present it a little different sometimes, but
Yeah,
they
never have a glow up.
Yes. A glitter glue glow.
Glitter, oh my goodness, we're getting into tongue twisters.
Yes.
Glitter glue glow up.
Yes.
That's like a whole nother topic for a podcast.
We'll do that next. Tongue twisters. Oh man, that would be my nightmare.
Oh no, so it started off being fostered as a kid, your creativity and stuff. Is there anyone that's kind of helped you along the way, like your parents or anyone that's kind of guided you?
I feel very fortunate that my mom was always extremely supportive of my art and my creativity. Unfortunately, she passed away last year, so I'm still heartbroken because she was there every step of the way. She encouraged me to do all of the art things, went to all of my shows.
Mhm.
Yeah, she'd even always have to tell people what I was working on. She'd even go up to like random strangers at the grocery store and say, "Hey, my kid's an artist."
Oh, that is so cute. You
Your
need
number one fan.
yeah, you need the cheerleader like
Yeah,
that. So.
and like I said, when I was a youngster, she'd always encourage me by getting me supplies, or when it came to like birthday gifts or holiday gifts, she'd always get me the arts and crafts kits.
Oh.
So she really fostered that and encouraged that, and I feel very fortunate about that because there's some people who would say, "Oh yeah, I wanted to be an artist," and my parents discouraged that. So no, you're going to college for something
Mhm.
like logical or
You're going into
important.
science.
Yes. You're going to be a doctor, an attorney, or this or that. But my mom said, "Hey, you're a grown up. You know what you like. You know what you're good at. Go for it."
Oh, that's so nice having that support system for you.
Of course.
It must be huge to have a vote of confidence like that.
With that as well, yes. So,
So was your mom, did she do art at all?
I think she told me, back in the 80s, I feel like before my time, she said that there was a lady in our neighborhood who used to have ceramics classes in her basement, not like pottery wheel ceramics, but kind of like paint your own plaster things. And she said that was kind of like a hangout for the neighborhood ladies. So they would get together and do crafts like that and gossip. But I always remember my mom, she'd sew Halloween costumes for me and my sister. So I kind of remember my mom, I think she made me a pink Power Ranger costume one year. And I'm like proudly dating myself. I'm like a kid of the 90s.
No,
And yes.
I love the Power Ranger.
Yeah.
Kimberly, was that the Pink Ranger?
Yeah, the pink.
oh my goodness.
She was my idol. I always figured if like art didn't pan out for me, I'd grow up to become a Power Ranger.
Still an option.
Yes.
Still an option.
It's-
yeah.
My plan
It's on the
B.
table.
Yes.
I was very much Team Power Rangers, not Team Ninja Turtles. That was the
Oh.
other side.
Yeah, like the great debate, like Power Rangers versus I think there was like the VR Troopers that was like a Power Rangers ripoff. I remember people getting
Yeah.
upset about that.
Oh yeah, the ripoffs. Because
Yes.
there was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles ripoff that I got into more of than the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I think it was called like Mighty Mice from Mars or something
Oh my
like that.
goodness.
Sounds intense.
Yeah, they were biker mice from Mars. That was it.
Biker.
They rode bicycles.
Oh, I thought they were like a motorcycle gang of
Yeah,
mice.
but
That would be
They were,
amazing.
but they were also mutants in some way. It was a ripoff. But anyways.
Still fun. I was born in 95, so I don't get
this is-
much of that. I know, but
This is like 93.
I didn't get into the nitty gritty stuff like you
I
guys.
feel like Power Rangers is probably fizzling out by then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was on its way
Very
out.
much early.
Yeah.
I think it still might exist, but I'm not
I
sure
don't
to
know.
which extent.
What episode are they on?
Yeah, because it was like Pokemon. They just cracked it out. They had like different versions. This time they have swords and that kind of stuff. I remember that being a big thing.
I mean, they had like talked into watches. I'm thinking,
Mhm.
oh, they were ahead of their time with the Apple watches.
Yeah, basically, right?
Predicting the future. So bringing it back around to art, which I mean, cartoons are still art, and we hope to get a cartoonist on someday. That would be awesome.
That'd be great.
But I know you do a lot of sewing. Did you kind of get that from your mom too?
Yeah, like I said, my mom used to make Halloween costumes for us. I think she made me like a 50s poodle skirt once for a sock hop in grade school, except I'm a cat lover, so she put a cat on there. And of course, because I love glitter, she made the eyes out of rhinestones. So my mom really got my style and everything. But my mom said that when she was growing up, she used to take, I don't think it's even offered anymore in schools, but home economics to relearn how to sew.
Mhm.
So she was really handy with the sewing machine and hand sewing. So I picked up a little bit from her, but I'm not so much of a sewer that uses a sewing machine. My brooches are all hand sewn and hand beaded. I just kind of like the idea of just doing everything by hand. It's more labor intensive, but I can really get into it.
Yeah, it's a labor of
relaxing,
love.
yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and you crank them out, and I love them. I've got a couple at home. A little
Excellent.
glittery mushroom. I love it. And there's just a lot of thought when you see them. You're just like, oh, she just did this with her hands. This is so cool.
I have a delicious looking cheeseburger
Oh,
that has
yeah.
a place of prominence on my backpack.
Oh,
Excellent.
nice.
Yeah, the cheeseburger was a popular design. I can never seem to keep those in stock when I do the art market around here. Everybody's really about the cheeseburgers. So I'm thinking about expanding on the fast food theme.
There you
Ooh,
go.
nice.
So I have a few ideas on a back burner that I'm ready to kind of
Ooh,
bring out.
gonna
Yes.
debut this year at the art market?
I'm hoping so. Yeah, I need to sign up. I think I'd seen an email or a post about it. So
Yeah, definitely. We've got a call for vendors. So
Starting in June, third Sunday of June will be the first Kenosha Art Market. I don't know the date memorized.
June
but
19th.
There you go.
It's Father's Day
Wow.
and June
June
10th.
19th.
So yeah, big day.
it's about 3 months from now. I can't believe it's going to be summer in 3 months.
Crazy, right?
Yeah. Went by so quick.
You might get snowed
Shush, no.
Not when this episode's coming out. By then it'll be 70 every day.
Oh goodness.
This is Wisconsin we're talking about.
Yeah. Get the full spectrum of weather in one whole day.
Oh yeah.
So
We might still have winter in May.
who knows?
It happens. It happens.
Um
So Kelly, well, getting back to the art, of course, since we're here, right? You talked a little bit about your background in art and your influences and stuff. Do you have so it sounded like you were doing art from an early age. Do you have like an earliest art memory, like maybe something you made early on or something that you saw somebody make?
I remember I colored on the wall in the living room. I feel like that's something a lot of kids do, but yeah, I definitely got in trouble. But I'm thinking, oh, maybe that was like a prediction that I'd one day be painting on walls.
Exactly.
yes. Oh my goodness.
Art imitates life.
Yes, definitely. That's so fitting.
Yeah, but I grew up, like I said, I was a kid of the 90s, and I don't know if anybody remembers the PBS show Imagination Station.
Oh yeah.
That rings a bell.
Yeah, but the guy would do like a half-hour drawing lesson every day, and he was very enthusiastic about it, and he'd teach you how to make things three-dimensional and talk about the different supplies.
Nice. We need that now. What happened to that? Like,
I still have a few of the books.
oh, nice. That's nice to look back on and
Yes.
see the things that you've done. I always think that's so important as an artist, even if it's like your first ever try at doing something, to remind you, like, keep going, because you started here, now you're here at where you currently are. So
Yeah,
it's important.
Yeah, my mom stashed a lot of the projects I
Oh,
made as
good.
a little one, and she'll would have hang up the Christmas ornaments that I made in elementary school. And she's like, "Oh, let's put these on the front of the tree," and I'm like, "Mom, people are going to think I made these recently and question why I have an art degree and have a lot of concerns. I'm like, let's put this in the back in a dark corner."
It's a work in progress, and gotta highlight every stage.
Yeah, it's like, are you sure you want to hang that pine cone that has macaroni glued to it?
The eyes, yeah.
And like the weird, I don't know, velvet teddy bears covered in glitter. She's like, yeah, I want everybody to see that. I'm like, Mom, scale it back.
But she's your biggest cheerleader,
Yes.
so yes, definitely. So you talked about being in school and everything. Did you went off to college and you knew right off the bat it's art?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
think when I was, I went to school in Racine from elementary school all the way through high school, but I took pretty much every art class that was offered. I tried different things, painting and drawing and sculpture, and then when it got to be time to finish high school and pick out a college, I was told Parkside had a really great art department and they were very close to home. So I was pretty much looking for a school that had a great art department, and it happened to be that the one closest to home had a great one, so it worked out. And I was a commuter student, but I took every art class that I could fit into my schedule and tried different things. And then with me, I love working in so many different media, and I couldn't quite decide what I wanted to do, so I ended up doing both painting and printmaking concentration. So it was extra work, but I loved every moment of it.
Nice. And I'm in the same boat. You've got toes in different pools, I guess you can
Yes.
say. It's hard to choose one. And then in the end, sometimes you just combine a whole bunch of stuff and you're like, I'm also into mixed media.
Yes.
So
Like a lot of my printmaking pieces, I go back in with watercolor paints and paint into them. So I'm combining my two favorite media then.
nice. Yeah. And I can relate to that. Printmaking and ceramics are kind of my thing. So
Nice.
I'll print on ceramics, and it's just a fun way to think about things. And having that a lot of tools in your toolbox, I feel like is very valuable, because you don't know, you experiment and you stumble on some great, interesting stuff. And I think that you have, with the combination of your printmaking and watercolor techniques.
So a big part of the reason we're having this podcast is to make me less of an idiot. I'm not an artist. I'm learning. I'm an art appreciator.
Yes.
And a couple of weeks ago, I learned what mixed media means. So I know that one.
Mm-hmm.
But printmaking. I mean, I know in general what printmaking means, but can you kind of spell out a little more of like, what is printmaking? What makes it printmaking? And Shelby can answer this too, because she obviously knows that too.
But yeah, if you could talk about your process, because I know you do block printing. If you can kind of talk about how you approach it, and I
do. I work mostly with, like Shelby said, block printing or lino cut printing. So I'll take a piece of linoleum, draw a design onto it, and carve it out with special tools. So I'm basically carving out all of the negative areas that I don't print. And the areas that are left over get rolled with ink, and that's what gets transferred to the paper. So when you do fine art printmaking, you make so many impressions to make an edition. So you can limit yourself to only 5, or if you wanted to be ambitious, you could do 50. But you're just kind of make a set, and then you're done, and you sign them and number them. Title them, and you're ready to rock and roll. It's a nice way of making multiple pieces of art.
Mm-hmm. And
all at once.
Yes.
Oh, just a quick pause. See ya.
Okay, we'll cut that out, Josh, and start.
Yes, she paused. Betsy's getting good at this though. I'm not just like rushing into the room and saying, I'm here making noise. So
dramatic entry.
Yes. So hopefully that that should be fine to cut. I'm hoping. So
we were talking about
printmaking.
Yes.
In general. Yeah. Anything else to say about printmaking?
Well, I do a little bit of silkscreen printing too. I'll do, I guess, like we were saying, mixed media. So I'll do lino cut prints, and then I'll cut those out and collage them on top of a silkscreen print, because I love both lino cut and silkscreen, and I can't just pick which one I love more than the other. So I'm like, let's do it all. Let's go big or go home. Let's see what I can come up with.
So what's silkscreen?
It's like, well, if you think about like a lot of t-shirts that have printed designs, that's done with the silk screen method. So it's where you take a screen. It's usually a piece of fabric that's stretched over a stretcher, and you can create the design with different chemicals, and then you push the ink through the screen with a squeegee. I do all my silk screens on paper. I'm not a t-shirt maker, but it's something I might like to try.
Awesome.
I know t-shirts can be a little finicky because you put them in the dryer and the temperature, and I don't even want to think about that.
I just stick with paper.
Yeah, the paper's not getting wet. It's staying there. You don't have to worry about temperature or wearability.
And then I'm thinking, what if I get really into this t-shirt stuff, and then I'll have like a bunch of t-shirts laying around, and it will just be like a weird order thing, and I don't want to do that.
Paper
sizes.
folds and stores much easier.
Yes.
Yes. Worry about sizing and that's why we have the web store at Lemon Street Gallery, so we don't have to deal with sizing.
We let the awesome people over at the lettering machine worry about all that stuff.
Yes. Free plug, because we love you guys. But and then when you're approaching a design, because I know you've had some black and white designs before, you just do like they call it the key, where it's just you do like a single color run, and it's typically just black. So when you have your key done, how do you approach the watercolor steps? Like, how do you plan out kind of how that's going to go? Because I know you do some abnormal skin color stuff, and I really like that. So
thank you. Yeah. Well, first of all, I make sure that the ink on the print is thoroughly dry, because I made the mistake of being, overzealous. Like, let's get all of this done, and then the ink from the print mixes with the watercolor, and it's just not a great experience.
Yes.
But sometimes, I'll make photocopies of my designs. Sometimes I'll experiment and color them in with colored pencils, just to get an idea of color placement and where I want to go and come up with different combinations. And then there's other times where I just kind of jump into it and work intuitively. Yeah. I'm very drawn to color.
Yes, I can. Yes, we can see that through your work. And is there the idea of having the abnormal skin color and like hair color? Is there a source of when that started or what kind of inspired that?
I'm a big lover of pop art, and again, being a 90s kid, I feel like I had way too many Frank school supplies, so I'm thinking it's kind of coming from that.
Gotcha.
Like I had like the backpack and folders and the lunchbox, but everything with Lisa Frank was ultra colorful and whimsical and joyous. So I'm thinking, oh, maybe that rubbed off on me and had some kind of impact along the way.
Nice, yeah. Eye-catching colors. I'm trying to think of another question. Sorry, I should have got a sheet.
I should have printed.
Oh, darn.
So we talked. You got into college, and you're going there. So you're learning, assuming your technique and stuff.
Yes.
Like that. So you're a full-time part of the artist community at this point. Do you have, like, at that point, you're like a favorite artist, somebody that you kind of draw inspiration from artistically?
Oh, that's really tough because I don't want to leave anybody out because I have a lot of friends here and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
We have plenty of time.
Yeah. Long list.
I love a lot. I love to see what everybody's doing. If I'm at a local exhibit or the art market, it's just really inspirational to see that there's so many different types of styles and so many people are working in different media. It's really nice to see so many different things represented here.
Nice.
That's cool. Yeah. How about, like, so I don't like to say like famous versus like not famous. Because like, what is famous?
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Just because somebody's, they could be doing great work and not have gotten the notoriety. So I don't want to, but so I kind of was thinking, I'm like, you could kind of break it down into people you know and people you don't know and you kind of admire from afar, let's say. So is there somebody that you admire from afar, sort of artistically?
Well, I'm on Instagram, so that's helped me to discover lots of different artists. Either local artists or people I'll probably never meet, but some of the ones I've never met before because geographically. But I've been really following Ashley Longshore's artwork. She's an artist based in Louisiana, and she does these huge pop art portraits that are covered in glitter and rhinestones.
Oh,
She's
I think
like,
I've seen her before.
She makes a prolific amount of work in a short amount of time. I don't know how she does it, but she's very dedicated to what she does. So I really admire her work ethic, and she's her own, I guess, art dealer. She doesn't show in galleries. She's her own saleswoman. She's her own, I guess, PR. So she does everything.
Takes it all on. Wow,
Yes.
that is a lot.
Like the state of art, it's a lot different now than it used to be, right? You can just operate on Instagram or something like that and do amazing.
You can be your own dealer, your own promotions.
Yeah, but if you're a person that likes to be more collaborative, you could become part of a gallery or something like that. So there's still nutritional options out there. Yeah, something for everybody.
Nice. And then I've been following. She started out as a graffiti artist, and she's still a graffiti artist and muralist out in East LA. But she goes by the artist named Sand One, and she does what she calls her sand dolls. And they're these very like glamorous ladies with super long eyelashes, and she paints them on buildings all over the LA and Southern California area. And she has a really large Instagram following, and she started out making art in her mom's garage, and she always told her mom, hey, I'm going to get us rich so you don't have to work on a food truck anymore. And she is very motivated, and she just has a hustle and really hard drive for working. And it's really interesting to see everything she's created, almost like an empire, because now she's putting her work onto clothing, onto purses. She's still doing walls. She does commissioned portraits for people, but she has a very distinct individual style.
I love when people are motivated like that and just driven, because that energy can transfer to different mediums and stuff.
Yeah,
so
she's always when I follow her posts on Instagram, she's always encouraging people to hone their craft, whether it be art or cooking or whatever their job is. She said, show up to work and be the best you can be at whatever you do. It doesn't matter what you do, but just show up and be willing to work hard.
Oh, well, that's
exactly.
nice.
That's what it's all about.
Nice to walk away with that and know that know the motivation behind her art.
Yes.
So. Speaking of motivation behind your art.
That's one of our questions.
Yes.
I know that. I thought of the same thing. I was like, she said motivation.
Smooth transition. There we go.
Nice.
So what motivates you to make?
I can't imagine not making stuff. So I think that's a big motivator. I feel like I don't know how to take a break and not do anything, or I feel like I can't sit still.
Yes.
And even when I take like vacation days or time off from doing stuff, my mind always drifts to working. I'm like, oh, maybe I should check my email, or maybe I should do this. So I'm like the worst at taking time off.
I'm also guilty of that, so I understand
You're
that.
productive. You're
Yes.
doing it. Though.
Yes.
See, I'm the opposite. I'm like, my motivation is to go home and sit on the couch and play video games. But that's why I'm not an artist. Maybe I would be if I was a little less lazy.
And I think I need a better work-life balance.
Yes, I understand that 100%. So,
But I think people use art to relax a lot of the time. So it's not even like it's, we call it work, it's your motivation to make or create, but really a lot of times it's a form of relaxation. I knit a little bit, and that's debatably art.
it's art.
And
Yes.
yeah,
We'll say it. We'll say
Yes.
it right here, right now. It's art.
but I'll sit and I'll knit and I'll listen to a podcast or an audio book or something like that, and that's relaxing for me. So I assume it's the same with other artists and their art as well.
Yes and no, because there's that pressure of like, I gotta make so much to meet so much,
Yes.
and so there is a little more pressure on you.
Especially if you're, preparing for a big event or a big
Yes.
exhibition. I feel like, I don't know if I can speak for all artists, but I definitely put a lot of pressure on myself.
Yes.
We've talked to some other folks who said that their motivation is the deadline. You have to be done by this day because
Although I plan really well in advance because I don't want to be one of those people who's doing it at the last minute. Because if you do something at the last minute, that's when things go wrong. I have a calendar. I write down all the deadlines and set little mini goals.
Nice.
It's like fun having a checklist and checking stuff off and seeing,
Ah,
and then you seeing and feeling the satisfaction, like, oh, I'm one step closer to getting this done. I know there's some people who will like live on doing stuff at the last minute. I'm just like, you do that. I'm like, you're making me nervous for you. I'm just nervous for artists in general. But I mean, if that's the way you work, I respect that. Everybody has a different way of doing things, but the last minute is not for me.
Well, we know you've exhibited internationally. Do you think that level of organization is what helped you achieve those showings in other countries and stuff?
Yeah, I would say so. I always go and look for all sorts of different exhibition opportunities. Maybe once or twice a week, I'll sit down and look at different calls for art and see what calls kind of match the work that I'm currently doing. I'll look for making exhibitions or painting exhibitions and write those down or print them off and kind of organize them by due date and say, hey, could I get something ready to submit to this opportunity by this date? Put it down on my calendar.
Nice. And
It's always
so
working ahead of time and setting a schedule, a pace for myself.
yeah, so you make your work and then find something that fits it, whereas some people, they find the call and then quickly whip up something to fit the call. So you kind of work in the opposite, and I think I'd love to be on that level. It takes some time, I think, to get there.
Definitely, yes.
But yeah, it makes sense to work that way, and it's just intimidating, I think. So
and
yeah.
it's paying off for you.
Oh yeah.
I'm looking at the list here. So I'm kind of a geography nerd, let me just say. And you sent your bio in, and there's some awesome cities that I've never heard of, which is rare. I know a lot of them, but we're talking. You've exhibited in Dubai, in the United Arab Emirates, the Netherlands, a city called Venlo.
Yeah.
Never heard of that one. That's cool.
Nice.
Kista, Sweden. Oh,
Yeah, my artwork has been to more places than I have. But that's okay. Maybe one day I'll be able to go to some of the openings that aren't local.
how do you even find out about these?
Like I said, I go online and I look for opportunities. Sometimes it's just as simple as Googling calls for artists. And there's a few different websites that I visit weekly as well. And I keep track of, oh, this one seems to have cool opportunities. I'm going to bookmark this and keep checking it.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
There's Facebook groups you can be on where they'll announce stuff there. Cafe is another one.
Oh, I like Cafe, and
Cafe.
they send me a weekly email too, like
Mhm.
sometimes twice a week. And I'm just like, wow, Cafe, you're a little intense.
Yeah.
Like, I already checked you out this week.
Yeah. And I mean, it keeps you on the call for art on your mind, because I've
Yes.
had times where I'm like, I should probably enter that, and then it slips out of my mind. But on Cafe, they give you reminders. So,
Yeah, I like the Chicago Artist Resource page. That's a nice one. It has a lot of opportunities in the Chicagoland area. And then there's a few other ones that I like too. I think there's College Art Association. It has a nice variety of listings and cafe, like you had said. And then there's a similar one in California. I think it might be the California Arts Council.
nice. And I know Cafe is just really nice because it's free for artists, but it costs money to post. So, it's a serious endeavor and you're not wasting your time, kind of thing. So,
And then I feel
Those are
like
nice.
networking helps because I'll have friends or former classmates or instructors say, "Hey, did you hear about this exhibition? Are you going to sign up for it?" And they say, "Well, I'm not sure," and then they kind of force me to do it. So it's kind of nice to have that encouragement / threats, I guess. It's motivating.
yeah, sometimes the support system is very supportive.
Yes, sometimes you need the little threats to get yourself to do something, or guilt trips.
Whatever works,
Yeah.
right?
Alrighty. So,
Ooh, let's go to another question here.
Oh.
But I like this one.
Yes.
If time and money were no object, what would you say is your dream project?
Oh wow! Like I said, I love doing murals. It's something that I probably recently got into in the past couple of years. But I'd love to do a huge, I guess a mural on the side of a building. When you see people get on the lifts and everything.
I like
And-
that.
And that would be so much fun.
You're not afraid of heights?
I probably won't know until I get on the lift and probably start crying or something. And I think I'd be more afraid of birds going to the bathroom on me and then
Oh.
falling. It just sounds like a really unpleasant experience. But I've always loved the challenge of trying something new and different. And with my first mural that I did, I think that was in 2016, I had never done a mural before and I really wanted to try it. And I actually had the opportunity that was at the lighthouse here in downtown Kenosha. There was a call for artists. Hey, who wants to do a section of the lighthouse with a mural on it? I got an email back that said, "Oh, we're going to invite you to do this." So that was my first time doing a mural, and I kind of caught the mural painting fever. So I find different opportunities or be invited by different organizations in town. Like, hey, how would you like to do another mural? So it's kind of good that I was promoting myself and my work to get different opportunities.
Yeah, it was a nice starting point because it was kind of like the catalyst that led to
Yes.
the whole thing.
And the
So,
lighthouse is like an iconic here,
Oh,
so you
yeah.
got a lot of eyes on your artwork.
Yeah, it was a really interesting experience because it's like, wow, I'm really close to the water. If I back up too far to look at my work, I will
Ooh.
wipe out the lake. And I'm a non-swimmer. And then there's some days when there was a huge amount of seagulls, which was unnerving, and they seemed kind of angry. So I'm like, oh, maybe it's time to leave their turf before something happens. But it was really interesting. I met a lot of people who weren't even local to the Kenosha area. I met people were here traveling on business trips from Austria or even, like Kentucky and other states, and they really got a kick out of the lakefront. And I think, living in southeastern Wisconsin my entire life, you kind of take that for granted. It's like, oh, it's a lake, I see it every day.
Mhm.
But if you come from an area where you don't have that, it's
Yeah.
magic.
Mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
nice. Woo. Woo.
Yeah, I was gonna say you did a piece on the side of the building that you and I used to both work at.
Yeah, and it's still there as far as I know.
Yeah, well, it might not be when this comes out.
Yeah.
I think it probably.
That's the thing, if you do murals directly on buildings and they decide to tear down a building, it's a little heartbreaking. So it's like, I should try to do murals on panels, so if people decide
Right.
to move or tear down their building, the mural doesn't go away with it.
That's a good call.
So I've had a couple opportunities to do murals on panels. That's lovely. At least I kind of have a little bit of security knowing that it's not going to be completely
Demolished,
destroyed.
yeah. And you did a mural for Artworks, and I know that was on panels.
Yes,
So-
and it was a tropical themed one, of course, because I love all things tropical and flamingos. I'm low key obsessed with flamingos. I want to get a huge flock of plastic flamingos to put in my yard, and like
Do
that's my
it.
goal for the summer. I want to have that yard in the neighborhood, like tastefully tacky.
Yes, I love
That's my
it.
goal.
Get a nice colorful umbrella out there,
Yes.
some lawn chairs.
It's like I just don't want like 2 or 3 flamingos. I want like several dozen.
Yes. All right.
Okay, we got another fun question here. So, yeah, people love to talk about art, and has there ever been like a funny comment that you've heard about your art, or like something like notable that sticks in your mind, and you're like, I can't believe this person said that?
Oh, it's actually happened a lot. People ask me really strange questions in general, not just about my art. So that's probably like a whole different podcast. Like I joke around that strangers love me. I don't know if that's something to necessarily be proud of. It seems like a safety concern.
As long as you're comfortable with it,
Yeah.
I'd say be proud of it.
Yeah.
I will say though, thinking one time at an opening, well, it's actually happened at a couple openings. I've had people ask me, it's kind of in a condescending tone, did you make that all by yourself?
Oh,
And
goodness.
it's like, I'm a grown adult. I don't know if I just come off younger looking, and I really am, but I'm like, no, I can reassure you I made it all by myself.
Oh,
There's only one name on there.
yeah. It's mine. Me. I can understand that too. It's not the greatest thing to hear a very surface level comment like we talked about in our last podcast of just, yes, you could say something's nice, but I don't get anything out of that
Yeah.
compliment. It's very surface level.
Or then somebody said, oh, that's really cute. And I'm just like, oh, thanks. Or, oh, that's adorable.
Oh.
Like, it's
No.
like, oh,
That's one of the, what do they call it? Like a backhanded compliment,
Yeah.
sort of.
Yeah.
it's kind of cringe. Like, the people kind of mean well. Maybe they don't really know what to say at an art opening. At least that's kind of what I tell myself. But I figured if like people are at an art opening looking at my artwork, they're not there to be mean, that they're actually interested in artwork.
I would hope.
Yeah.
At least I hope. Yeah, I've never had anybody show up to one of my openings and make me cry or throw stuff at me.
Oh, goodness,
So-
no.
I mean, I've had a couple of like strange people incidents at openings, but like nothing that made me feel like sad or worried about my safety.
Well, that's good. Goodness.
Yeah, I've always wondered, because that's what I've asked a couple of guests in a row now. Like, how do you feel about people? Do you like to stand next to your work and have people, it's like a conversation about it?
Okay, so at first, I finished Parkside. Let's see, it was in 2010, and I had my first solo show in April of 2010. I did a residency at the Black Eye Press printmaking studio. It was on 6th Street in downtown Racine. That's where I had my show. But since then, it's moved to the 16th Street studios in Racine.
Yeah,
But
sure.
when I had my opening, it was my first solo show opening, so I was, of course, a nervous wreck. And at that time, I really wasn't good at talking to people about my artwork. I was just very introverted and shy. And just the idea of people saying, hey, let's talk about your artwork. And it's like, oh, I think I just low-key threw up in my mouth a little bit. Like, it's terrifying. But then the more experience you get talking about your artwork, the easier it gets. And I feel like a lot of people who are studying art, they don't realize that, once you finish school, it's more than just getting in the studio and making art. You have to be able to talk about your art. You have to be able to write about it. Because a lot of times as an artist, you're kind of a solo entrepreneur or business person.
Mhm.
And a lot of people don't think about it like that, but you have to be able to promote yourself. And if you can't have a conversation with somebody about your artwork, that's probably not a good thing. So I just kind of forced myself to get used to talking to people about my artwork.
I should probably ask people that question before I invite them on a podcast to talk about their
Yeah.
art.
But if you would have asked me to do this 10 or 12 years ago, I'd be like, oh, I can't. I have a thing at a place tonight.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah.
Like, oh, I didn't see your email. But yeah, I'm really glad to have the opportunity here.
Oh, yay. We're glad to have
yeah,
you.
Yeah, we're learning too,
But like I said, the more you talk about stuff, it becomes more natural and it's less scary.
So, do you have a message that you're trying to kind of push with your art, or is it more just art for art's sake and aesthetics? Is there anything like that you do through your work?
I just love to have fun with my work and push the boundaries.
Okay.
I kind of try to illustrate all the things that I love. I love bright colors. I love tropical things. I love retro and throwback. So I'm pretty much combining all the things I love into my artwork.
Okay. Sounds good.
It's what you want to look at.
Right?
Yes. I love all the colors. I love all the glitter. I love all the flair. I love all the extras. So that's what I do.
Nice.
Definitely a maximalist when it comes to my artwork. I can't do anything simple or plain. It just has to be extra.
Yes, if you can find a way to put a gemstone on it, you're gonna find a way.
Yes, I have like a few trays of gemstones organized by color, and I'm that intense. And like if I can't find a color that I need in this like tray, then there's clearly something wrong. They don't make that color. And I have all my paints organized by color. I'm very organized in my studio. Because it's like, you're spending time making work, and it's like I don't want to cut into my time of actually producing work by saying, oh no, I can't find this. You rifle through everything in here, and then by the time you find your supplies, it's like, oh, I don't have time anymore.
I understand that. Do you think that level of organization kind of came from printmaking? Because I know printmaking, you've got to be neat, clean, and everything. Or was it just kind of like that off the bat where you're like, I'm organized?
I think I've always been organized. When I think about myself as a little kid, I was just like, wow, I was really high strung for a kid. I was like a mini adult. And like I'm thinking back and like, wow, I probably could have lightened up.
Well, now you're being a kid through your art. I feel like you're giving a different perspective, a kind of a child's perspective, but in an adult way, if that makes sense. Like the execution is in an adult form, but the colors and everything, you're like, let's play with that. Like there's, again, no rules. So.
Like I said, I love color. I really love to push the boundaries of color. I'm like, yeah, like this is something that's normally neon pink, no, but in my world it is, so let's go for it.
Why not?
Yeah. Like
no rules.
Yeah, no rules. Go big or go home.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, we've come to our last question. We don't have to end, but this is the last of our formal questions.
And it could be a longer answer, this one
tends
to be.
That's kind of why we saved it for last.
Yes.
So we're in an art community here. We kind of see the scope of this podcast as kind of being between Milwaukee and Chicago. So yeah, Kenosha, Racine, all points in between, really. So, what are some of your thoughts about the local art community? Ways to improve, what's great about it, what
kind of events you'd like to see, or something to highlight artists?
Well, I think in the past couple of years, it's really been growing. There's definitely more opportunities for people to show, or especially there's a lot of local galleries around here, and there's different events like the art market, and it seems like a lot of people around here are friends and encouraging each other to pursue these opportunities. So I'd like to see that continue.
Yeah, keep networking, keep collaborating, and open with communication. Like, hey, I want to collaborate, so let's put it out there.
And I feel like most of the people around here are pretty cool and nifty individuals, so they're like up for collaborating and showing. So I'm happy to be part of a nice art community.
Oh, nice.
That's good.
And we're glad that Lemon Street can kind of help support that as well, with our featured shows and everything like that. Because I feel like when we have our brick shows and everything, that's a time for people to come together and talk and just chit chat about art, and a good touch point for that networking.
There's always some people that thrive with the collaboration. Some people like being more of the kind of like, I'm just going to do my own thing. But then even then they want to show it off to people. I think as an artist, part of the reason you're doing it is to show other people, so you need to have that community there, right?
Yeah,
because I feel like a lot of times when you leave, like you're in school and you're in a studio at school and you have your classmates that you can bounce ideas off of them or talk about what you're working on, and then you have your instructors to show your work to, or you have deadlines when you're in school, like your assignment is due or else you fail the semester. But then once you finish school, you don't have those deadlines. You might not necessarily have your classmates with you as you're working. So it's nice to know that you have a community to kind of show your stuff to.
Yeah, and having experienced that recently in 2018 when I graduated, it's hard to navigate. You're like, all right, I have no structure now. I am thrusted out into the quote unquote real world.
Yeah, that was strange for me too, because you go through, school like kindergarten through 12th grade, and then you go to college. And then I remember after graduating college, I fall, I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be getting geared up for school. This is like my first time in how many years not going to school. This is strange.
Yeah.
That took a while to get used to. I'm like, I'm not going to school. I don't have homework.
And that's why I'm so grateful for Lemon Street, because they kind of came in and said, you've got skills. Do you want to run a class? And like just kind of opened their arms up to me. So it's nice to have support in the art community.
Yes.
And so
yeah, I feel like a lot of people have been very supportive. Yeah. I'm grateful for that.
Got to be open to everyone and help where we can.
Yes.
And then you can be supportive to other people
Yes.
going forward, because I think I say this every episode, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah.
We're not in competition, if we all kind of help each other out, we can, and then serve as like a focal point for people to come and buy the art and view the art,
Mhm.
Then you have the coming together of the artists and the art appreciators.
Yes.
And all a lovely little community, right?
Yeah, that's what we're working with here.
We're gonna start singing "Kumbaya."
Yes. Holding hands in center of a campfire.
Yeah. Oh, now I want to s'more.
Sorry. That does sound good.
Should have eaten before I came.
But yeah, so the Kenosha Art Market, that's you touched on that when you were talking about that too.
Yeah, I gotta get around to signing up for that. I'm not sure if I'm going to do the whole season or which dates I'm going to be doing. I gotta double check that with my calendar to make sure there's not any scheduling conflicts. But that's something I've enjoyed doing the past couple of summers. Except that one time, like there was a thunderstorm, but other than that, like I've had mostly positive experiences, and I learned about setting up displays so things don't blow across the park.
Yes.
I felt so bad that year, that was last year, and the wind, it was just knocking over your tree. I felt so bad.
Yeah, I had my kitschy Christmas tree. I'm thinking, no, I'm going to do Christmas in July, and it can't just be a regular tree. It has to be like a foil glitter tree that's mid-century modern, because I'm extra like that. And I learned, I'm like, yeah, this definitely needs to be tied down to the table, so...
Oh.
I think another vendor said, hey, do you want some string? And I'm like, yes, you're the most fantastic vendor ever. So
Community.
Yes, artists helping artists.
I love those ornaments that you do, by the way.
Oh, which ones?
The pointy ones.
Oh, that's a Polish tradition. My mom's side of the family is from Poland, and I remember she had one when I was a kid, and then I think later on I learned how to make them. I brought one home, and she completely flipped out and said, oh, you gotta make one for everybody. And I said, Mom, you're one of 8 siblings. And she said, don't you care about us? Don't you love us?
Yeah,
Don't you care about being Polish? And I'm like, oh, thanks for like the guilt trip. So I ended up making a whole bunch of ornaments, and they're pretty labor intensive, and it takes a while to get used to the technique, because they're all paper's all cut, and it's rolled with glue, and it's hand sewn, so it's just a lot of labor, and then you lose track of time when you're making them.
A lot of spikes.
When did the sun go down?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I forgot to have dinner, and I'm like, oh, I should have did that at 5, and now it's 1 in the morning.
Oh.
But it's like, you're having a good time in the studio, and you lose track of time, and you get completely lost in your work.
It's a good feeling when that happens, and a lucky thing sometimes.
Yeah, and then you just feel good, you're done for the evening or the day or whatever. It's like, oh, I got all this accomplished. I can't wait to come back in tomorrow and get back to work.
Yeah, definitely. So the art market, great place to meet kind of your supporters too.
I've had a lot of repeat customers, and then I'll put out a booklet for people to sign up for my email newsletter, and people take my business cards, and I've had a couple people commission me for different colored ornaments, or hey, I want one of your brooches, but you have a design that's like this, and I'm like, well, if I have a fabric, I can custom make whatever you want. I had somebody request a rhinoceros. which I've never made a rhinoceros before, but I still can, I can do it. But they said, it has to be blue. And I need a dozen of them.
Oh my goodness.
And then I did some Halloween themed ones. I love Halloween, and I had somebody request glittery butcher knives, which was kind of strange, but I'm like, okay, I'll do it. It's not my usual forte, but I'm like, I'll do glittery butcher knives.
I remember seeing that one as you mentioned it.
I was like, I feel slightly uncomfortable doing this, but I'm like, no, I'll take the challenge.
Nice.
Are there any of the brooches, I gotta ask before we end, are there any of them that sold like better than you thought? Like you're like, oh, these ones, nobody will buy it.
Like the hot dogs, those went, like people are wild for those. And then the pink leopards, which I kind of made for myself because I love the color pink and I love leopard print. I'm like, oh, nobody's going to buy these because, they'll say, oh, they're like too girly or too juvenile. But those I can never keep in stock.
Oh.
And then the flamingos are a big seller.
Yeah.
Well, you're known for the flamingos
and
the birds and the tropical, so I think it's like a nice little stamp of Kelly.
Yes.
So nice.
Yeah, I'm always looking for, like different designs to make. Like I have a list where I write down like, oh, I want the challenge of trying to construct this out of fabric and sequins.
Nice. And it's great to push yourself. That's the biggest challenge too, is not falling into the rut, because some artists kind of do that and just the same subject matter over and over again. So really pushing yourself and what the limits you can do, I think.
Yeah, I love trying out new materials and thinking, oh, like I love these sequins, or I love these beads, or I love this trim, or like with paint, I'm like, oh, I've never did this color combination before. So.
Yes, experimenting is very important. As Jake snaps a picture.
I just realized I didn't have enough subject.
It's like being on the show TMZ.
Stop, paparazzi, no.
Yeah, I'm the paparazzi.
I wish I would have dressed better today.
No,
you look beautiful. You notice I won't be in any of those. I'm too self-conscious to do a selfie.
I can never do a selfie to save my life. I always look like I don't know how people do it.
The arm.
I'm actually pretty decent just because I have a very long arm. I can get quite far away.
I always just have like the weirdest facial expression. I'm like, oh, do I really look like that in real life? Ew, that's like swipe to delete. Like, I don't want anyone to see this. Or ew, what if somebody stole my phone and they saw all these really like not attractive selfies?
That's the first thing they do if they stole your phone. They're like, let's look at the selfies.
And then they'd be like, oh no, really don't want this phone. We'll just
wipe it clean.
Yeah.
That might be a good anti-theft deterrent.
Yeah.
Actually, keep those selfies.
Yeah, plaster it with selfies. But yeah, where can the lovely people? Oh, I wanted to touch on something before because it slipped my brain. Talking about selfies. So you do a mailing list, and I think that is something not every artist does, and I think.
Yeah, I try to do that once a month. Kind of draft a list of all the exhibitions I'm in, locally or, I guess across the nation or whatever. Because then I'll add, a link to the gallery's website if it's something out of town, so then people can, I guess, visit the exhibition virtually. And then if I'm doing other events, say like the art market here, other things, I say, hey, it's going to be this day, this time. I hope that you can make it. So it's a nice way. It's like a free way of promoting yourself. It's just simply sending an email.
And good way to network and remind people, like, hey, I'm still making.
Yes, I figure if it's like once a month, it's not, like pushy or annoying. And I figure, if like I've never had anybody send me an email and say, ew, don't send this to me anymore. I don't like you or don't care. Most people are happy to get an email and say, oh, I didn't know you were doing this. Now I have something to do on Saturday night. So
yeah, nice little reminder.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah, very unique way. People kind of just stick to the social media today, but sometimes you need that personal one-on-one.
I'm a little old school, I guess. So.
Very on brand.
Yes, with your throwback stuff.
Yes. Yeah, like I'm not much of a social media person. I just have the Instagram. That's like I was reluctant to even get one, but I'm kind of glad I did. It kind of opened up a few opportunities for me for sales. I've sold to people in Jacksonville, Florida, and down in Texas, and I've been invited to different exhibitions all because of Instagram, which I'm
Dang.
just like, oh, I was so stubborn. I said, oh, I don't want to do social media. Now I'm kind of salty now.
I was like, oh, could have got on this sooner.
I had friends who like told you so. And I was just like, oh, that's the worst. But they did it from like a loving place.
Oh,
And it's working out now.
yeah.
And this dovetails perfectly into our like closing. You know, we want to hear about how people can find your work.
Oh,
Instagram.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Kelly Witte Art. So it's just my name, all I guess in one word, along with the word art. And then locally here, I'm selling my brooches at Artworks Gallery here on Sheridan Road, right next door to Lemon Street. So I like to kind of switch out my inventory regularly. I haven't had a chance to do so yet, but I'm working on a new safari set themed brooches. So elephants and tigers, and I'm
Nice.
thinking about making more fast food ones. So everybody loves fast food, so I need to get more beads to make the sesame seeds for the burgers. So and then you go to the art store for one supply, you end up leaving
A cart full.
It's like one package of sequins turned into like sequins, spray paint, glitter.
I would go in and be like, I need some sesame seeds. And they'd be like, what? And oh, I mean beads.
Sesame beads. What?
They'd say, oh, you gotta go to a grocery store.
You're not going to eat these, are you?
I don't know if I could legally sell you these now.
It'd be like a liability issue.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. So go check Kelly out at all those places.
Definitely. All of her beautiful, vibrant art. And you can check us out on the ArtSpace podcast on Facebook and the ArtSpace pod on Instagram. We're also on the Lemon Street website, so we'll be posting like links and stuff there. We'll also be wherever you find your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any place like that. So.
And if you follow us on the socials, you can let us know what you want to hear. Do you want us to ask different questions, or do you
give us feedback?
Who do you want us to interview? If you have a different platform that our podcast isn't out on, let us know.
Yeah.
And
so it's been lovely talking with you.
So
oh, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. It's my first podcast. So I was a little nervous, but I had a lot of fun. I'm glad I did it.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you all so much, and we'll see you. Bye.